Hello everyone, I want to take a quick trip down memory lane and talk about side lane freezing back in 2019. This is something Ellis just brought up in this interview that we're going to watch from Don Jake. It's a very good interview, you guys should check it out for sure. And it brings up how he was flamed by basically like everyone for bringing up freezing in side lane as like a macro option to do when you're like 15 to 22, 23 minutes in the game. And taking a look at Modern League, this is something we regularly see pros actually do. I even saw at Worlds like some 19-minute freeze timers and stuff. And back in the day, you would be laughed at and harassed and just mocked for even bringing it up. So I'm gonna play the clip.
There's also the Hooney one where he laughs at me on Twitter and Cody Sun. If you search like Cody Sun and Hooney responding to me on Twitter when they were on Clutch Gaming, and Cody Sun basically calls me a retard. You can go back to that one and you can see that because they're wrong in that one too.
So basically, he's talking about how in the past, right, he brings up the freezing and stuff, and people just call him wrong. One problem is when we go to these tweets, the responses is by the pro players. XD. Now, Ellis puts in a lot of effort, and say what you want about LS, maybe he can deliver feedback and stuff better and ideas better. That's not what we're here to discuss. What we are here to discuss is this game, because I remember this game. Games of Legends, this is the game. Game 2, Armut versus Hooney. Now, anyone that's watched my POV, they know I'm a big fan of freezing and slow pushing side waves, and I love the fact that this has now become popular. And I do not buy the idea that you can do it now, but for some magical reason you could not do this in 2019. This is simply not true. You could always do this.
If you view it with a modern lens. I think most people that view it with a modern lens now also see it. As like what I'm trying to get at.
Very well spoken, brother. Now let's dive into it. Let's take a look at the game. Let me explain the game changes, why freezing is actually worse now. And that anyone that thinks otherwise needs to have extreme evidence why you couldn't freeze in 2019, but you could now in 2025. Because Riot has added more reasons not to freeze. Grubs. When Riot adds grubs to the game, what do they create? If you freeze and you're worried about enemy making a play elsewhere, right? The problem that you'll have is, well, the people making a play elsewhere will maybe have grubs. And if they take a tower on side because you're freezing or whatever, they're gonna have grubs. Second, minion waves. Riot changed how minions work. They kill themselves faster. When it's minion versus minion, they now fight and they kill each other faster. This is a terrible change for freezing, as it speeds up the game. Riot has added Atakan. They're adding more and more things to fight over. These should, in theory, be terrible reasons to freeze, right? So, let's look at this 2019 example. This is what Ellis is talking about. This exact time frame. Rumble blue team is what we're talking about. Should he freeze? Should he not freeze? What is the argument from the pro players? This is 2019. This is why history matters in these cases, because Ellis was live commenting about this here in this moment. And people are not really having a discussion. Shout out to Cody Sun though. He actually was having a conversation. Whether you think he's right or wrong, he's actually like having conversation about it. So it's a lot more respectable. But concepts that gets brought up is vision and pressure and these things, which this is real things. Vision and stuff, it does matter, but it matters depending on what's happening in the game and stuff. It doesn't matter at all time. If vision matters at all time, then League would be a very different game, right? So, what's the main concern here if you're Rumble? So, now you might be a bit confused, because Nico spawns now and she picks up Rumble, so the Rumble you see on top here is fake Rumble, okay? This is real Rumble. This, real Rumble. What is the concern? What does Ellis want? Ellis wants Rumble to freeze bot wave here. Okay, and the pro players don't want Rumble to freeze bot lane. Because of pressure, because of vision. Now, when I say freeze, I do not mean freeze for 3 minutes straight. Okay? I think freezing for 3 minutes straight, that can quickly start to become bad, but it's hard to discuss and argue because it could also be good to freeze for 3 minutes straight. It depends completely what enemy team is doing and what your team is doing, right? But freezing for like a wave or two here is always good as Rumble. There's no reason not to. I remember the game in 2019 here. This red team cannot go Baron. They cannot. There's no way. Dude, you are not going here as red team who just took this tier 1 turret. You are not here going Baron from base because Rumble is freezing bot. This will never happen. This will not happen. If you think that, then again, just feel free to discuss. Like, I don't see it. 2019, you can't just do Baron here as this team. They have Iceborne Ezreal. It had no damage on Baron. This Baron will never ever die. Rumble is bot with TP up. This is the perfect timer to freeze on side. Again, when I say freeze, I can't speak for LS, but when I say freeze, I do not mean 3-4 minutes straight. I think that's hard because at that point, enemy can actually start to poke you out and stuff, and they can actually sit there and do the Baron for that long. But right now, if I was Rumble, I would freeze the next 2 waves as well. 100%. And I would do the same now in 2025. I would say, again, like I said, freezing has been nerfed these days. I'm less likely to freeze now, at this moment, than I was in 2019. Go watch my VODs. 2019, you'll see my custody and stuff. I am freezing. I'm freezing side lane. This was a good thing to do. It still is good, and we see it now in pro play. But this examples just goes to show that history is important in League. And that you have to discuss these things in the moment and be willing to see both sides. Because Ellis was right here. Ellis was right here. We're sitting here 6 years later. Ellis was right here. Was he right about every single freeze moment? No. I remember instances where he was also wrong. But the idea and the concept is good. It's a good thing to think about. It is nonsense, in my opinion, to think that you can only freeze in laning phase, but you cannot freeze at 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Anyways, what happens? Rumble now pushes bot wave. Like I said, I would want this Rumble, this wave you see here, I would want him to just hold it. I would want Nico and Kai'Sa to use 1 blue trinket rotation for Baron and 1 for the Rumble. For example, Kai'Sa here can easily give Rumble 1 blue trinket, and they can still have Nico blue trinket to check Baron. Enemy has no Baron DPS. There's no Bork on Irelia, there's no Leandris in the game. They are not doing Baron. Bro, you couldn't do a 20-minute Baron here as this team. You can't. So what is the advantage of Rumble freezing? What is the disadvantage? Well, the clear advantage is more gold for Rumble and less gold for enemy. The reason why it's more gold is because watch this sequence. He now moves to mid, but Cody actually wants to base after next wave. Look at enemy team comp. Can they realistically kill Kai'Sa? A big downside, in my opinion, of freezing is you can't hover. Hovering is powerful if you expect things to happen, right? Or if your team is trying to progress something. Right now, as blue team, Clutch Gaming, what are you progressing? You aren't hitting Nash here either. Kai'Sa wants to base, doesn't matter that she has TP. You're not going to hit Nash and then have your ADC TP into Nash pit. This is not happening. So what are you progressing? I would argue that right now, if you want Rumble to do this, then Nico should be freezing. Someone should be freezing side here. If Rumble is pushing bot, then Nico should be freezing top. But look what happens. Armut now catches a wave for free. This Renekton is meant to be the biggest piece of shit ever right now, and stand here and wonder, where's my wave? They can't force anything, look their team comp. There is no Vi diving this turret. I don't think it's worth for Rumble to freeze 1 bot wave if it means this is gone. How is this ever gone here from Rumble freezing? Guys, it's not happening. This team, free kick all down, is not diving tier 1 turret because Rumble is freezing a wave or 2. So what happens? Rumble goes mid. Clutch Gaming, without Nico and Jarvan, has no way to engage. Ezreal is on mid wave with Fresh. Most disengage ever, right? You are never killing them. So now Rumble is surrendering some CS here, and is just watching enemy team. Kai'Sa now recalls. Neither team goes Baron. This has nothing to do with Rumble being here. Vulcan has to base for wards. Nothing is happening. Sorry, voice crack. Meanwhile, Rumble lost now a full bot wave and is just walking around. Kai'Sa now TPs. Now here is the genius thing. This wave this wave starts to matter. This wave starts to matter. So why is freezing good? Why is freezing good? Freezing is good because you can read this in game, and that's what you see now in 2025, and there's no difference. It is worse to do in 2025. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it is nerfed. If Rumble freezes this wave here, right now, if he holds this wave with one blue trinket, he can never die to gank. He can freeze, deny Renekton, and then by pushing the next wave, not this one, but if Rumble now starts to break his freeze, imagine now, Rumble starts breaking the freeze and handing over the wave to Renekton. Then, Rumble has maximized his gold gain, and instead of losing this wave, he is losing, instead of losing this wave, he's losing this wave. Now Rumble loses 2 waves with what he did. And Renekton would feel more forced to start going bot, because there will be a larger wave coming into him. Then Rumble now grouping, this makes sense. What we're seeing now, this is actually important. Because this team has Baron damage. This team has no Baron damage. This matters. If you now make this fog, you can actually play Baron as CG. This makes sense. But this has nothing to do with what Huni is talking about how here he can't freeze because of Baron. But people get so triggered and mad when you call out gameplay like this, and you bring out new concepts like freezing, and they get so angry they stop thinking. There's nothing wrong with Rumble freezing this one wave. If you want to argue that here they should play for Baron control and that they can hit it with free item Kai'Sa, I can get behind that. They can totally hit it, bait enemy to come in, and then turn with Nico and Jarvan and Kai'Sa ult. I agree. But that is not a reason why the Rumble, watch now Rumble on 2x speed, is not a reason why Rumble... How the fuck I do this? Ah, they made it premium, sorry, I'm broke. Anyways, look Rumble. Look at Rumble, bro. There's no reason why Rumble should be here. Enemy has no engage, you have no engage, without Jarvan and Nico, who isn't here, which we can know. We can always know this, because we have a minimap and voice comms. Rumble's literally standing there AFK, because he knows he doesn't want to go bot now. And now he's here. And he could be here, brother. He could be here, freezing one-way bot. Because this play, I agree with. This is a good play. So, thanks for listening to my rant. This is something I'm really passionate about. It's not about, oh, maximize one wave, dude, nerd emoji. It's not about that. Well, it is kind of about that. Like, yeah, there's no reason not to get an extra wave lead. But it's just, this was 2019. And it's so annoying to be part of this whole, because I was also helping to push this. I love doing this. This was so good to do. And I'm so happy to see it actually, like, being played and done now. But it's always frustrating when new ideas gets brought up and the discussion is an XD from Huni when Ellis is just talking about game point. It's just cringe. And this happens a lot. And we are not going to progress as a scene and competitive and strategy and stuff if this is how we are viewing things. And history proves this is a legit thing to do. I am not LS. I don't know what Ellis is proposing if he means Rumble should freeze for 4 minutes straight, right? But the idea of Rumble freezing here is 100% correct. I would do it as well if I'm Rumble. I have no idea why Rumble is pushing this. He's literally just feeding Renekton. He just fed Renekton. And as someone that's coached pro play for so many years now, the amount of times I've heard, I need one more item, I need one more wave for item, don't fight. Happens all the time, and that one wave difference matters, because it's not just one wave for Rumble, it's also one for Renekton. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Veigar 2 out.